President Trump heading to the southern border for his first rally of the 2020 campaign in El Paso, Texas. He's planning to press his hardline message on immigration as he pushes for the border wall. But his will not be the only rally in town. Former Texas Congressman Beto O'Rourke planning to join an anti-wall march nearby. Our next guest plans to meet with the president before it all begins. Let's bring in Sid Miller, the commissioner of the Texas Department of Agriculture. Sid, good morning to you, and thanks for your time this morning. What are your expectations and how do you do to you as well? What do you expect from the president when he heads that way?
Well, I think he'll give a rousing speech, as he always does at his rallies. He'll have, thousands of people will show up. I think he's going to talk about two things. I think he's going to talk about the importance of getting Congress to sign the USMCA agreement, the improved NAFTA agreement, which, three world leaders have come together and made an old agreement much, much better. Also, he's obviously going to talk about building a wall on our southern border to protect the United States.
Okay, we have a difference of opinion, shall we say, Sid, on what the wall has done and has not done in El Paso. I want to give you two little clips here. The first one, State of the Union, about 6 days ago, the president talking about the virtues of a wall and its effect on crime in Washington. Watch.
The border city of El Paso, Texas, used to have extremely high rates of violent crime, one of the highest in the entire country, and considered one of our nation's most dangerous cities. Now, immediately upon its building, with a powerful barrier in place, El Paso is one of the safest cities in our country.
That was met with applause on behalf of Republicans. The mayor in El Paso is Dee Margo. The mayor tweets the following: El Paso was never one of the most dangerous cities in the U.S. We've had a fence for 10 years, and it has impacted illegal immigration and curbed criminal activity. It is not the sole deterrent. Law enforcement in our community continues to keep us safe. Hashtag SOTU, State of the Union. What is the state of the truth in El Paso?
Well, the fact is, putting up the barrier, the wall in El Paso, crime has significantly dropped. Neither side can argue that. I guess they can argue over how much is, a lot, or how much criminal activity was prior to that. But it's a stated fact that the wall has stopped crime and it is lowered in El Paso. Here's one thing about the wall that I think the conservative side is missing. Building a wall is the most humanitarian thing we can do. The other side said it's immoral. Let me tell you what's immoral. Immoral is giving false hope to thousands of people that track up here thousands of miles under false pretenses. Many times they're giving away tens of thousands of dollars to get here. The women and children are often abused. They're forced to carry packs of dope across into sex slaves, drug mules. I was chairman of Homeland Security for the state of Texas. I know those border regions. I know the sheriffs. I've been on those ranches. Many times when things go wrong, they're just abandoned. Many of them die. The farmers and ranchers down there want their land secure. Their property values have plummeted. They can't even sell that land. They can't work it. They can't farm it. They can't go on it. These drug cartels come across with these willing and unwilling immigrants to help them, get into the United States. They cut their fences. They kill their livestock. They rob their houses. Many people have been shot and harmed. The most humanitarian thing we can do is build that wall so these people can be funneled through legal channels and stop this sex trafficking, human trafficking, and drug cartel through our porous borders.
Mr. Commissioner, across the street, as we mentioned, former Congressman Beto O'Rourke will be holding his own event, calling it March for Truth, Stop the Wall, Stop the Lies. Why is he carrying on with such a different message?
Well, he's playing the far extreme left who wants open borders. They want unfiltered immigration. They want any background checks. They want freely, drugs and MS-13 gangs to come back and forth through our borders, which is just ludicrous. That's not the America I grew up in. That's not the America that I want for my family or my grandchildren. We need to secure the border for our side, for the protection of the immigrants coming in. They're being exploited, like I said, turned into sex slaves, drug mules, left abandoned to die in the desert. I've got thousands of pictures I could show you.
So you believe
treacherous.
that walls work. That's what I hear you saying. That's your position.
Walls absolutely work.
Okay.
There's no doubt
If
about
that's
it.
the
Anybody
case,
that's
then,
ever put one up, they
right.
work.
Here's what O'Rourke said on Twitter a few days ago. We'll just show it to our audience here. Our government built a border fence in El Paso in 2008. A misguided response to 9/11. No terrorists have crossed the southern border and attacked this country. It didn't make us any safer. In fact, crime in El Paso increased after it was built. That's O'Rourke. You have another Democrat in California, Gavin Newsom, the governor, who is expected to pull 400 National Guard troops off the border of Southern California. A similar move happened in New Mexico earlier. What do you think of that decision in California?
Well, I think that's ludicrous. Why would you want a less secure border? The only reason I can think of is you want illegal immigrants to pour into our country. You want illegal drugs to keep coming in. You want MS-13 gangs to come in. You want illegal trafficking and all this riffraff coming in, unfiltered, unchecked, no background checks on anybody. It's just ludicrous. I don't have a good explanation why anyone, either side, would want that. We should have organized immigration. We should have legal immigration. We should expand our guest worker program. And the people that want to come up here and better their lives, I'm for them. We need to make that opportunity available, but we need to do it legally. We need to know who's here. We need to keep the riffraff out.
Well, we know, along with Senator Ted Cruz, you'll be joining the president down there in El Paso, Texas. We'll be watching for all of that,
Yes,
Sid.
ma'am.
We appreciate you coming on this morning.
Thank you, guys. God bless.
Sid Miller, thank you there in Texas. Thanks. And White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders from Washington to join us about tonight's address. And Sarah, welcome back here to America's Newsroom. We've got a lot of things to go through. We'll see how much we get done, okay? Good morning.
Sounds good. Good morning, Bill. Always great to be with you.
What does the White House consider a success tonight?
Look, I think you're going to see an incredible speech by the president, a visionary speech. The theme of this year's State of the Union is choosing greatness. The president's going to lay out some of the great successes that we've had over the last 2 years and paint a picture of what we can do for this country if we come together, if we work together over the next 2 years. One of the first opportunities that members will have, Republicans and Democrats, to come together will be to vote on and support the USMCA deal, one of the biggest, most historic trade deals in the history of our country, something that really fights for the American worker. This is something that both Republicans and Democrats talk about regularly, say they support, is helping the American worker, helping our farmers, our ranchers, and the forgotten men and women of this country. This deal does exactly that, and we'll see if the members can come together and support this trade deal and really make history by coming together and getting that done.
We want to lay the table, a chance for you on that. I want to take you back to Sunday during the interview on CBS. A key line in this answer caught my ear when the president said this.
I don't take anything off the table. I don't like to take things off the table. It's that alternative. It's national emergency. It's other things. And, you know, there have been plenty national emergencies called.
So many are anticipating how far we go on border security tonight, what the president pushes for. When he said it's national emergency, it's other things. What are those other things the White House is considering?
Look, I'm not going to get ahead of the president. What I can tell you is that his position has not changed since the day he started campaigning. The president is 100% committed and focused on getting real border security, protecting American citizens. We've got to stop the cartels, the coyotes, and the human trafficking at our southern border. And the president's going to do whatever it takes to make sure he fulfills his duty to protect this country.
So
and he's going to fight to make sure we have a border.
When you consider there could be a court battle, maybe Ninth Circuit if you got national emergency, I know several Republican senators are on record. They don't want the president to go that route. How much do you consider that possibility when you're making the case tonight?
Look, I think it's real simple. For senators that don't want to go that route, then they need to just simply do their jobs. As the president says, this could be done in 15 minutes. If people don't want to see an alternative direction, then sit down at the table, negotiate a deal that actually protects our borders, that protects citizens of this country. You're going to see some of the guests tonight, people that have been directly impacted by illegal immigration, whether it's a family that's lost someone due to an illegal immigrant coming across this border and taking the life of someone that is an American citizen. That should never happen in this country, particularly when we have the ability to prevent things like this from happening by protecting our borders, by putting up technology, by putting up a barrier. These are things that both Republicans and Democrats have always supported until the president became President Trump. Let's hope they can put aside their partisan differences, sit down at the table, do their jobs, and move forward and actually come up with real solutions like the president's going to lay out in his address tonight.
Speaker Pelosi put out a list of their demands last night, an email about 10 o'clock in the evening, and a lot of the things on their list are the same things that you have on your list, like funding for humanitarian assistance, funding more immigration judges, 1,000 new customs officers, new imaging, cutting-edge technology. This is what the White House put out about 2 weeks ago to try and end the shutdown. Look at the similarities. $800 million humanitarian assistance, $800 million drug detection, 2,700 border agents, on the list goes. But at the bottom you have two additions. 3 years protection for dreamers, about $6 billion in funding for that steel barrier. Call it a wall, call it whatever you want. It does not seem the two sides are very far apart. Let's see where the negotiations go. However, let's get to North Korea. Will there be an announcement tonight on the next summit, end of February?
Again, I'm not going to get ahead of the president's specific details in the speech, but I can tell you we continue to make progress with North Korea. The president's leadership has delivered a relationship that brought us the first summit between the president and Chairman Kim. They sat down in Singapore, and we saw some progress on that front. We've got our hostages back. They're no longer testing. We have seen the remains come back, and some of those remains have even had identifications, and families have been reunified with those remains.
On that front. Should the American people expect a where and when tonight, yes or no?
Look, the president has said that the summit will take place near the end of February. That is still moving forward, and we're still very much on track for that. In terms of details, I'll leave that up to the president to announce when he's ready to do so.
On Syria, I know the president wants out of that country. Does he still, Sarah?
Sorry, what was that last question?
On Syria, does the president still want out of Syria, or the talks that had taken place over the past 2 weeks change his mind?
Absolutely. The president, and I know he said this in his CBS interview just earlier this week, the president wants to bring our troops home. The president doesn't want to be in wars just endlessly and forever with no end in sight. He has been to Walter Reed. He has met with these individuals. He's seen the sacrifice, which we will forever be in their debt for that sacrifice that these men and women make, that their families make, and the president doesn't want to continue that if we don't have to. He wants to continue to have a presence in Iraq to help with that situation. He wants to continue to absolutely annihilate the small remnants that are left of ISIS, and we're doing that as we withdraw, but the president is very much committed to bringing in the men and women in Syria back home.
Inaugural committee is being investigated. Now you know that. Did foreigners illegally donate money 2.5 years ago for that?
Look, I was not part of that committee. What I do know is that doesn't have anything to do with the White House. I'm reading the same reports you are, and we'll get more information as we have it. We'll certainly do our best to respond to it.
There's a good story in the economy. I know you're going to tell that tonight, but it is the grandest of stages to sell your case, and we'll see how it goes together as a country. Sarah Sanders, thank you for your time from the North Lawn.
You bet. Thanks so much, Bill.
Okay.